Hello, clean freaks. My name is Andy, and I'm helping my neighbors clean and organize their homes for free. And as you can see, today's space is very unique because it is my neighbor's in-home art studio, and it is completely unorganized. Not only that, but because my neighbor deals in a variety of art mediums from sculpture, stained glass, pottery, mosaic work, and more, it's hard to distinguish between what is art and what is inspiration and what is just straight up trash. Let's dive in. So, as some of you know, the way I get connected with my neighbors is through a community Facebook page where I post when I have availability to help provide these completely free cleaning and organizing services to my neighborhood. Each time I do that, I get a wave of DMs with various photos and stories to tell, and I try my best to respond to all of them and get folks scheduled. Well, this neighbor reached out because she's retired and has more time than ever to make her art, but needs a system for keeping her tools and supplies organized. This is such a unique opportunity that I said yes right away, and now that I'm in the room, the first thing I'm doing is just a visual walkthrough to see what all I have to work with. I'm not going to lie, I'm also just living vicariously through my neighbor as I think about how cool it would be to have this type of space to create art in. It's definitely something to cherish. Now, usually my approach would be to clear off this main workstation so that I have one clear surface to work from, but because of the amount of stuff covering this work desk, the other counter by the sink, and really all the countertops in the room, I actually decide to save the clearing of any surface for later. Instead, I start to pull out identifiable tools and materials from the pile. That includes anything like scissors, paintbrushes, hammers, pencils, silicone molds. Anything that I can identify, I pull out and get off this table and start to either put those items in an existing bin or shelf, or just pile them together until I decide later where they will permanently live. And the reason I do that is because there's so many bits and bulbs, as you see, will go through, little pieces of wire, and anywhere else that's trash. But here I just need to be a little bit more careful as I start to decipher what is a usable material versus what is actually just scrap that is not usable and can be thrown away. Now, before I even turned on the camera, I did a walkthrough with my neighbor about our goals. And one of the questions I like to ask all of my neighbors is, do you know right now where everything is? Meaning, if I asked my neighbor in this case to find a scrap of red ribbon in this mess, would she know right where that is, or would her answer be, no, I have no idea where anything is in this room. I put it down, it completely disappears. And that is exactly what my neighbor said to me. There are different types of people. Some people, even when a house is very messy and cluttered, they know where their own stuff is. And other people just desperately need that kind of help because if it's not organized, they lose it. So I was actually very thrilled to hear that she didn't know where anything was, because that means as I'm creating new organization methods for her, I can move things around however I like because she doesn't already have an instinctual place for most things. And so she won't mind or get confused if I move anything. Now, my neighbor's main goal was to get her desk workstation cleared off, as well as the counter near the sink totally cleared off. And she also wanted me to start to sort all her materials so that she knows what she has and can find it, pull it out, and use it. And again, for materials for her, we're not just talking about paint, canvas, paintbrushes. We're talking even a little broken piece of a ceramic vase could be useful to her to make a mold from, for example. There are several tiny trinket pieces that she has saved because she has an idea for an art project, and I want to be really respectful of that. So anything down to even a small piece of blue glass might be something she needs. It's the perfect piece for a mosaic work of art. So that presents a very unique challenge, which I was very excited about. An item I knew my neighbor had going into this project was this organizational bin with all of these tiny drawers. This is perfect for sorting dozens of tiny art supplies, all the various shapes, sizes, and colors of beads and coins and jewelry, just a million little shiny bits that my neighbor uses. This ends up being a hugely important piece of the organizational puzzle because I have a place to store her materials that is highly visible, easy to access, easy for her to pull out and put back only what she needs. This entire shelf unit becomes the materials shelf with her multiple silicone molds at the bottom since they're the heaviest, and then more supplies going up. Now at the top of the shelves, she has a lot of personal art that serves as inspiration for her in the room, along with the CD player that she does still use. I mentioned to her getting rid of some of these items might be a good idea, but this is again where an art studio is a unique place. If those pieces on her shelves or items hanging on her wall are inspiring her as she creates, she's surrounded herself with inspirational art, I can't in good conscience tell her she should get rid of it. Artists, let me know your thoughts on that in the comments because I'm very curious what your art studio looks like, or if you don't have your own art studio, if you could dream of one in your head, would you be filling it with inspiration, or would you keep it very utilitarian and very bare bones? As far as a time frame for this room, I initially scheduled 2 days with my neighbor so that I could do this entire space. But what you're seeing in this video ends up just being day 1 because when I went back to my neighbor's house to finish, I guess she had forgotten I was coming back and she wasn't able to let me in, and we haven't had a chance to reschedule yet. I don't have a car, so I either walk or take public transportation to get to my neighbors' houses to do these cleanings. It's why some of you in the comments have mentioned that I should bring bins with me or certain things with me, and the reality is I just can't because I'm often taking a bus or a train or walking several blocks to get to these homes. While I call them my neighbors, they're not always right next door. And so I have a conversation on a phone call ahead of coming to the homes to try and get bins ahead of time, make sure there's enough cleaning materials or trash bags, whatever's needed. Oftentimes I just use whatever the person has. You probably have noticed if you've watched a couple of my videos that asking people to buy things is not really my style in this time in the US and our economy. I'm trying to help people elevate what they already have, and what I'm trying to say is if I take the time to show up to somebody's house and they're not ready for me, I can't always reschedule right away because I have a lot of other people who are waiting for me to get to their homes, and I can only do so many of these at a time. And I know for a few of my videos now I've gotten several comments of go back or you have to finish. And to that, I just want to say there really is no finishing when you're talking about cleaning and organizing someone's house. Yes, maybe there's a finish point for that big reveal of the before and after, which I always appreciate and I like to have on these videos as much as possible. But life is not as simple as a video, and each of my neighbors I'm helping will continue to live their lives in these homes and either make progress or undo the work we're seeing here. My goal is always to improve a space enough where the person I'm helping can carry on the work themselves. So if I don't make it back to this neighbor's house for a while, just know that when I do get back there, any work I do will be to build upon progress, not perfection. This is a terrible shot, and I'm so sorry. What I'm doing here is finally getting over to the sink tabletop. That was our second goal, was to get this cleared off. And that is mostly at this point chemicals or paints. So you'll see the table I just cleared. I'm now putting a bin and getting all these different chemicals, cleaning materials, all put into one bin. Like items with like items. You knew that was coming. Once I get that cleared, then I can wipe down this table. Again, keeping a lot of these tchotchkes. These are things that in a normal space or home, I would be talking with my neighbor and encouraging them to get rid of. But in this case, I left them here. You may be noticing that my neighbor has her tools already hung up along these shelves, and behind the shelves on the wall she's got a nice board for her tools. I tried to maintain those areas as much as possible since that system was already working for her, but for the tools that didn't fit there, I encouraged her to get another hanging shelf for these tools, which she said she was already planning to do, so I'm glad I just drove that idea home. And here is how we are leaving the space today. I was able to accomplish our goals of completely clearing off the two main workstations for my neighbor, but more importantly, everything I removed from those spaces and around the entire room, I removed and organized them into a place with like items to make it easier to find and to put back. And if I was able to do day 2, I was going to finish the drawers, the shelves, underneath the desk, underneath the sink, and the floor to clear everything out, toss anything we no longer need to keep. Hopefully I can make a part 2 of this space sometime, because I really loved working with this neighbor and playing in her home art studio. She was so much fun, and this space is so cool. If you made it this far, consider checking out the other cleanings on this channel and subscribe for more videos I have coming out as I help clean up the world one home at a time. Why not? Think big. I will see you next time.